right, the National Publicity Secretary of the opposition People's Democratic Party joins us on the program, Mr. Ememobong, wearing the party attire. Well, you got 1 out of 6 yesterday, Mr. Ememobong, but the PDP is not really having it. But I had to look back in time and go to 1999 when he used to be the PDP, taking it all up until 2016 when things changed. So you seem to be celebrating this win, this lone win, but you still believe that there are some things that didn't go right.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. Glad to be here. I had a lot of laugh finding my big brother struggling with the facts. Yes, clearly, like the statement we issued yesterday, which was clear that we expected more, but there are both internal and external reasons why that didn't come through. And like you said, yes, in times past, we're clearly the party to beat. And but again, it shows coming from the fact that this is the first election that is test running the new Electoral Act. It reinforces the thing we said about the voter apathy that will be concomitant with the new Electoral Act, which is clearly not what Nigerians wanted. Now, when you look at, there were many polling units, you had just 2 people voting. Some, you would see that no one went to vote, but people were playing football just by the field, by the election center. And people said, look, our votes won't count. And when you go to the local government, Kuje, the area council in Kuje, you would ask yourself, how could an election that ended by 2 or 4 p.m., how were you unable to find results until 3 p.m. the next day? That clearly would show why real-time electronic transmission was important. And backtracking to what my brother Moka said, that he had a challenge joining from Asaba. That's not an issue. Like you mentioned, NCC, INEC, and the Technical Committee on Electronic Transmission, as at 2021-2022, in preparation for the 2023 election, had attained 93-95% penetration. As we speak today, 2G network, which is what is needed. What he needed to join was internet connectivity for video, which is clearly stronger and can have a challenge. But in every part of Delta State, Moka cannot deny that people are doing POS transactions. He cannot deny that people are sending text messages. He cannot deny that people are sending WhatsApp messages. Even on the high sea, I was on my way to Nembe Brass the other time. All through the 2-hour ride on the high sea, I was using my phone and at least sending WhatsApp messages. Remember, that's different from doing video streaming, which may be a challenge because of the weight of conversion of the video. So what happened yesterday and where we have issues, incidentally, we are not sore losers. What we are saying, and you see that the race in most area councils were clearly between PDP and the APC. Now, so where we have a challenge is clearly in Kuje, where you found out that if you say that of Kabe Ward was hard to reach, which is what the INEC statement says, what happened to the central ward, which is the central point where it's on land, it's not hard to reach, how come their results didn't come? And you've seen video of even police people accepting that police people came in buses to shoot and carry materials, carry result sheets. This is what we have been shouting about. Remember what Igini said. Igini clearly dissected the elections and said, look, if people do not have confidence, number one, if people do not also know that what happens in the polling unit is what will be transmitted, and we're asking for INEC, if not for any reason, review, look at the result sheets that came. And I mean, this is a test case for the Amupiton INEC leadership. Look at the result sheets that came. You see where the total number of registered voters is, the total number of accredited voters is 213, but someone will have 1217. I mean, way above a triple multiplication of the total number of voters. We can't be having this type of elections. And again, a lot of things went wrong in that election preparatory to it. The curfew, which all critical stakeholders had said was absolutely unnecessary. Having a 22-hour curfew before an election, that could also have had an impact on it. And the dissonance between what the minister said, what the FCT police command said, and at the end of the day, again, the minister is not a voter in the FCT, but he was on parade. I think that we need to remind Mr. Minister that he's not the governor of the FCT. And I mean, look at the crowd he was carrying. That alone could compromise election integrity. And so there are many factors that we need to fix. If this is a foreshadowing of what 2027 would be, I can assure that already all the opposition parties are meeting and will soon come out with a joint position. Because, like I kept warning, election cannot just be a date on the calendar. Elections must reflect the will of the people. And when expressed, away from the apathy, the few people who went to vote, how do you expect them to come out to vote again in the next election when they clearly see that the result sheets that they had in their units, in Kuje, in Central, in Kabi Ward, are not a reflection of what happened? Look at the crowd that you're showing. What was that crowd doing at an it undermines electoral sanctity, and people were voting at that point. He wasn't an INEC official, he's not an observer, he's not an election monitor, he's an interested party. 48 hours before then, he was moving around forcing members of the People's Democratic Party, and I'm sure that even the chairmanship candidates in Kuje very soon will be issuing a statement forcing them to step down. Those who agreed to step down did that. Those who didn't, he promised them that they will not win. And you remember the statement he said, "Do your own on Saturday, leave the rest for me." If you contextualize that statement and you look at the things that happened across and the images you're finding, then you clearly would understand what that means. This is way below. And I think that INEC needs to do a lot more. This is way below the expectation.
I think there's no argument to the anomaly that whoever, whether it's Nyesom Wike, I've heard people say other people, whoever was doing what he was doing, who is not a journalist, INEC official, election observer, security agent, is clearly in the wrong. I don't think anybody would debate that. But let's talk about what people have been saying as far as the opposition is concerned. So let's talk about the politics for a moment. The voter turnout was low, although INEC said compared to the previous election in 2022, they say it's about 10%. This is 15%, so it's quite low. When you look at certain decisions that were made in certain polling units to elect who is going to lead those councils as chairmen and councillors. Did the PDP do enough work? Because we can blame one thing or the other over whatever. Do you think the PDP did enough to mobilize support for its candidate in this election? Because at the end of the day, it boils down to the party's ability to convince people to vote for them, whether it's APC, PDP. So for your party, since you're the one, we just spoke with Moka, we asked him how the APC won, he's explained himself. Why do you think the PDP lost significantly besides winning one, that's Gwagwalada?
Well, a plethora of issues will account for that, which again, we must be sincere. And you know that until you win, enough isn't enough. So we cannot say that we had done enough, because if you had done enough, it means that your enough wasn't good enough, or it was circumvented in the circumstance. But when you look at the fact that we are not the ones arranging the elections, then you're going to clearly see that the role of the election umpire, the election management body, is critical. Because first, irrespective of how much you mobilize people, if people are not sure and certain of their security on the day of elections, they will simply stay in their houses and call you and tell you, "Hey bros, you don't reach the venue, how far? It is safe, I feel come. But in this era of internet and social media, you clearly would know that people will be checking, what's happening. And if you see that even the intimidation, the disposition before then, and the fact that people already had lost faith in the process before, and it's an immediate fallout of the Electoral Act 2026 saga, where people clearly knew, and you saw the protest. And again, this happened in Abuja. So when you look at the proximity between the National Assembly situated in Abuja and the entire AMAC election, so people clearly knew. But in terms of internal issues of the party, yes, the candidates of our party were selected by our predecessors, the Damagun-led ESCO. And clearly you saw that two of them stepped down well ahead, even without consulting, allegedly withdrew from the elections without consulting or informing the party. Even their vice chairman was still on board running. So you just saw that those were personal decisions. Again, it goes to our position, which we've always said that politics must be accompanied by principle. If we want to be an opposition party, then we should be an opposition party, which is why you now understand, and no one is in doubt as to which PDP is an opposition party and which, people by expelled members of our party are an annexure of the ruling party.
If I may come in here, so I deliberately asked that question to follow up with the next question, which is the fact that besides what has played out on the field or whatever is being said to have played out on the field of election, the internal, you can clearly see to a very large extent, you might not be able to blame the APC for what happened to the PDP in that election. Given you're a strong member of your party, which you guys have counter-expelled yourself, made candidates of your party, we may have had a chance perhaps, step down for the APC candidate. So should the PDP be surprised that they lost the election if they didn't play their politics well because of a divided house?
No, just taking from your mouth. It's just like saying that a member of Channels is now poaching people for another television, and Channels has said that person is no longer. Can you still, would you still, even by conduct or by expression, still refer to that person as a member of Channels? I mean, that's clear, which is why we took the decision we did in Ibadan, which is why it's clear now as to who is for the party. The PDP is an opposition party. It's not an appendage. We are not running the Chinese-style ruling party system that the other parties survive at the mercy of, which is why we've been fighting, which is why we've been advocating that if a multi-party system, political system must be in Nigeria, then what is happening is wrong. And all people of good conscience must condemn it. When we shouted about this, people made jokes about it. And this is a foreshadow. If we don't fight the way we are fighting to retrieve the party from the hands of these buccaneers, then you're going to find this type of thing happening in 2027, where not just the PDP, if you check, almost every political party has landmines being placed for them consciously, in a bid to see that the APC is railroaded back to Asoro. But clearly, we're also taking steps to ensure that those things don't happen, which is why you are seeing us having a hardline position in the rebirth process of the party, and which is why we're in court to argue these issues, to say that if people do the sort of things they've done and the party has taken a lot of decisions about them, what is the challenge about that? So clearly, we are an opposition political party and we must provide alternatives to them. We cannot be having a circumstance where in 2027, which is why we don't want Nigerians to be disappointed. Because if you allow the party in the hands of these people, then you're going to find a situation where 48 hours before the election, a presidential candidate endorses another presidential candidate. Recall that in this country, during the Abacha transition, you had 5 political parties saying that a gentleman who hadn't even bought a nomination form was the best for the party, and all of them stepping down. We don't want a reenactment of that period, which is why, as the opposition, we are meeting, we've spoken with the ADC, we've spoken with Labour, we've spoken with NNPP, and we are looking, but we also need Nigerians to know that if the owl cries in the night and the child dies in the morning, there is no difficulty in linking the source, the cause and effect of it. But what we are saying is, we are not just sitting as lame dogs to say, oh, this is what's happening. No, we are fighting back. We are rebuilding trust. We are getting to,
All right. Mr. Ememobong, since you referred to Channels Television, perhaps it's apt to say at this point that it's very difficult for, it's easier for the camel to pass through the eye of the needle than for poaching to be done at Channels Television. It's a very close-knit family, and the results are there to show for it. But we cannot say the same for the People's Democratic Party, because you're about to lose another key member of the PDP family that has demonstrated loyalty over the years, even amid the defection rumors earlier on of the governor of Adamawa State. He was categorical about Adamawa being PDP. But what we now know is a suggestion to the contrary, that he may be leaving for the All Progressives Congress. So your party is about to lose another key member. Talk to us about that. Can this be salvaged? And, relatedly, the area council elections in Abuja, there is a statement that you signed congratulating Mohammed Kasim, I believe, who won Gwagwalada. And there is a statement of another publicity secretary of the Anyanwu group, who is also congratulated Kasim. So talk to us about that. How should we be processing these different statements from your party?
Yeah, clearly, when you need to draw a demarcation, you draw a demarcation as to intent, as to function, as to disposition. So if you check the other group and you see that they were even the people who were also applauding when people were stepping down. So the question is, can you approbate and reprobate at the same time? Can you give and take at the same time? Incidentally, the Kashim and the gentleman in Kuje are people who have related with us, and we gave them encouragement. We've been fighting both in front and behind for them. And so congratulating them, even the processes that led to their eventual successes are things we can't even speak about. But those are the issues. So it's not difficult to know who wanted to win election and who was happy that their people were stepping down for people. Again, that goes to, now on the issue of Adamawa. I was in Adamawa 2 weeks ago with the governor, and he said to my hearing, in fact, he repeated it at the airport, that is a member of the PDP and he's going nowhere. I mean, Shakespeare says there's no art or science to decipher the mind's construction on the face. But if we are people of principle and the things we say, our words are a bond, we, and I mean, I was the national chairman of the party also mentioned it at the last NWC meeting, that the governor of Adamawa State, Amadu Fintri, His Excellency, is still a strong member of the PDP. And until any express action is undertaken to the contrary, then we can't comment on it. We cannot put the cat before the horse. I mean, there is no law that prevents him from doing so, but right. He's been a person of morality. He recently launched a book called Fintri the Man They Could Not Stop. So in that book, he's painted as a gentleman of strong character and morality. And if you also view his political trajectory, you can find principle in it. If he chooses to jettison principle, well, history and posterity are the ultimate judges of human conduct. But as of today, in my personal relationship with Amadu Fintri, governor of Adamawa State, in his relationship with the NWC, as the chairman of the convention organizing committee that produced us in Ibadan, as a person who just 2 weeks ago hosted us and had private meetings with us, as a gentleman we met in Bauchi a few days ago, who reiterated. In fact, even after the president left, he's also had communications with the NWC, right. And he has said, I am a member of the PDP. How much more can you ask that? We cannot repudiate a person who himself has reiterated a stated fact, which he intends to hold on to.
Well, the beauty is that this particular interview and this clip will remain online for future reference. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Ememobong. We must reiterate that for the local councils, the chairman, they must also speak to the people. We've seen a trend where these chairmen do not speak to the media. Once they are elected, they close shop up until the next, well, it used to be 3 years, now it's 4 years for elections yet again. So I really hope that at least your own party's chairman in Gwagwalada will be different, as well as others. Speak to the people, engage the media, let us know what you're doing, let us interrogate these issues for the good of our democracy. But Mr. Ememobong, thank you for your time on the program. Wish you the very best in the build-up.
I agree with you on that, and I've spoken to both those who won and those who have been declared as losers to ensure that they engage with the media, because this process, and I can assure we've set up a legal team right. For who have complaints to me.
Thank you very much. Wish you the best.
Thank you.
We'll take a moment now. When we return, the state of security in Benue State and the state of your health. The NCDC joins us in a moment. Stay with us.